the Disney CEO transition. Basically, what I want to focus on here is experience marketing as a moat. Um,
Mm,
the next CEO that was just chosen is Josh D'Amaro, who's taking over from Bob Iger in March. This is super interesting because D'Amaro comes from the parks, right? He
yeah.
was in charge of the parks, the cruises, all the experiences, and not
Yeah.
the content side of things, right?
Yeah.
This matters because Disney Experiences is valued at $205 billion versus
Mm,
the content side, which is only $47 billion.
yeah.
The parks are not a side business. They are the core part of Disney. Damaro's thesis is that a Disney story doesn't end when the credits roll or when you walk out of the park's front gate. This is top of mind right now for me because
Yeah.
my kids are super into Bluey right now. And
Yep.
Disneyland recently announced that they are changing the park to have a Bluey
Oh, I
Disneyland
love that.
experience that I
Yep.
know my kids are going to love
They
as soon
will.
as it opens.
Yep.
And they also have the movie coming out next year. So it's like a
Yeah.
whole tie into everything, right?
Yeah.
And that's how they get you, right? You get the content for the
Yep.
kids, and then you put it in the parks, and then you put it in, the movie
Yeah.
theater, and it just goes round and round, right?
Yep. Yep.
I also want to call out here that he positioned AI as always second to human creativity, which I think is so smart for
Important.
Disney to really focus on the human creativity part because like that's what they were made from. That's like the Walt Disney brand and like
Yep.
iconography that comes from him, right? As like the
Yep.
original animated movies, right? Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, like all the art and all the history that's in that,
Yeah.
bringing that to the fore, right? When they bought Pixar and like Pixar movies became like the next iteration of what animated films should be, right? Where it's like they're still kind of held to the like, as like the exemplar, right? Because they mix both the animation but then also the storytelling, right?
Yeah.
They've kind of had a couple of not hits, but I think people are actually anticipating Toy Story 5 because like
Yep.
Big Bad Evil is going to be like the little
The
tablet, right?
iPad.
Which is a huge thing that parents are going through, right?
Yep.
Um so, and this comes after Bob Iger announced the OpenAI partnership a couple months ago, right? So I'll be interested to see what direction he takes the company after that partnership, which I assume is still there, right? Because he
Yeah.
didn't announce that it's going away, but definitely, figure out like what their actual position is going forward. But it is a stake in the sand that he did lay that he thinks that the human creativity is what makes Disney Disney. Back to the brand moats and like the brand equity experiences are what people want to do now. That's a thing that people still feel is worth paying money towards,
Yep.
right? Where it's like if I'm going to get a full day experience of something, it better be good, right? Like if I'm going to
Yep.
pay this amount of money, and Disney has been raising its prices steadily enough that they're realizing, hey, people are willing to pay for this,
People
right?
will do it.
Exactly, right? They keep going back to the parks. The cruises are doing super well. The like island experiences are doing super well. So it's really showing that these are the types of things that people want. So the fact that they're
Yeah.
investing in them by choosing the CEO makes so much sense for me. I also think that this goes along with the, AI messaging that he's laying out, that it's like,
Yeah.
let's bring it back to the human. We're gonna like have the humans generating the creativity, and all that creativity is going to flow back into the experiences that people have with the parks. And it's just going to be a cycle of like, you experience a show or a movie and then you
Yeah.
experience it at one of their parks going forward. They
Hmm.
also did mention that they're trying to open up a Disney resort in the Middle
Yeah.
East. So that's like a new thing that they're investing in. So I'll be curious to see kind of like what happens there. Obviously, there's a lot of money to play with over there and a lot of money that they could get investments of from like, I think it's going to be in Abu Dhabi.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
because of course, right, the adult playground is now going to have a children's playground to go with it.
It's.
I mean, to be
I know,
fair,
right?
Disneyland is also an adult playground, right? There's a lot of Disney
There's
adults
a
that
lot
go
of
there.
Disney adults.
Yeah. So would love to know your thoughts, Gia, on everything and what you
Yeah.
see happening here as well.
I mean, what really stood out to me is that Disney's making a very clear statement that they're no longer competing with like a Netflix or just like a
Hmm.
Universal. Like they're not just as content is our moat, right? They're like,
Hmm.
they know that because they're increasing the prices for families, it's almost like a luxury good at this point. It's like, how can we go bigger and
Oh,
bigger? It is a luxury. It is a luxury good. A family of four, like you're competing with
My
like a
God,
ski
yeah.
trip or a vacation
Mhm.
or
Oh,
like
yeah.
a whole big event. Like you would save for something like the prices that Disney's at right now. It's like you would save for that for like a year, right? If you wanted to take like
Mhm,
5 people to like Disneyland and have like the whole like
mhm,
hotel or cruise or both the parks or fly somewhere to go to a different Disney. So it's like they're planning
mhm.
it around like this whole experience. And so it's
Yeah.
gonna become this like positioning that's I feel is gonna go a little bit more luxurious than just entertainment, right? Because they're gonna
Mhm,
reach a different type of audience now. And I think that's what they're putting their money on. And I thought that it was really interesting that they're like, yeah, content's like a thing, but this is where we eventually want to lead people to. Like you said, it's all about the experience now, right? And once you create that perpetual engagement loop, it's like you don't let the customer leave, right? Because you have Moana 1, then you get the doll, then you go to the park, then you like book a Moana hotel room, then there's like a Moana themed restaurant, and then your child is like, I love Moana for the rest of my life. And then you
yeah.
have Moana 2 that comes out, right? And
Mhm,
so it's like creating this like no off ramps, like you're in the Disney world for a long time. And I thought that was really interesting that
mhm.
they're like double downing on.
Yeah, one thing that you called out that I really like, it can't really compete with Netflix on a
Hmm.
technological like platform level,
Right,
but it doesn't need
exactly.
to because Netflix can't compete with Disneyland and Disney
Nope.
World and Disney Japan, right? Like
Yep.
it can't, unless it's going to go and create,
Like
parks for
decades.
exactly, right? Um, so that's like a huge thing where it's like Disney sees that as like the moat because it's like they've had that for what I think Disneyland is celebrating like 70 years or 75
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
of being like a park. One thing I do wonder is that how much is going to continue into the luxury experience versus trying to widen it a little bit more so that
Yeah.
more people can go. Obviously they have been like raising prices, so it is kind of headed in the luxury direction. But at some point, they are going to start pricing out families
Yep.
that want
They
to
are.
go there. And that's a huge battle that's like happening. I mean, I see that on Twitter all the time. Like, are
Yeah.
Disney adults, like, should that be the focus of Disney? Or should we go back to being what it was, like a kids park, right?
Like a family friendly
But I mean,
fun.
exactly. And that's affordable fun, right? Like,
Yep.
the thing that you bring up, right, is like, you're competing against like ski trips and like, more like international travel.
Yeah.
So like when a family is comparing those two, the Disney experience better live up to a trip to Europe, right?
Yep.
With like the flights and like, the hotel and everything.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
far it has, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that they'll have to like, keep there, or they're going to have to make something that's more affordable and accessible to more families. But
Yep.
so far they haven't, hit that wall yet. And then I did want to call out that they did promote another person, Dana Walden, as like
Yep.
president of Disney, who comes from the content arm, right? She was also up for the job for CEO.
Yep.
They
I
went with
remember.
Josh Tomorrow for his like parts experience. But
Yeah.
she's going to be president because she was in charge of like the content side. So content is not
Yeah.
going away. Obviously, there's
Of
still,
course not. Yep.
still have some of the most iconic brands out there.
Yep.
Star Wars, Marvel properties, the
Hmm.
Bluey universe, which is coming
Yep.
soon.
Exactly.
So that is still going to be like a thing. And then exactly what Jiya was saying, right? Where it's like Moana 2 came out last year and it was like one of the highest gross box office hits
Yep.
because like parents take their kids to watch these movies, right? The other one
Yep.
is Zootopia, right? Zootopia
Yeah.
was like
Good movie.
the one of the highest actually, if not
Yep.
the highest, like in the international market, specifically China, right?
Yep.
So these are like films that are still like, bringing in like families and bringing in parents, because of their kids. So that's definitely something that they're going to like have to like focus on going forward. And from what we've seen with like, the Star Wars universe, which, hasn't been as successful as they would have wanted,
Yeah.
they're going to have to like start looking at these other, worlds that they have, and
Yeah.
seeing what they can do to, bring them into like the parks. I assume they're gonna have Zootopia at like Disneyland at some point. I know it's
Probably.
already at Disney World, but given how popular it was, it wouldn't surprise me for them to bring that into the Disneyland experience as well.
Yeah.
um
I mean, it's a way for this legacy entertainment brand to survive, right? Like they're just like,
yeah.
look, we have like 70 plus years of content and some content's like not doing as good now, but we have all of this IP and they are
Hmm.
like putting it to good use, I think. And so I think they'll have a lot to work with and I'll be curious to see um where they take the parks experience and how much of a focus it's going to become now.
Yeah. So a couple lessons for me here are that physical experiences are still an undervalued brand mode.
Yeah.
So if anything, I do think Netflix might start trying to create some sort of like world. This kind of riffing off of the commercial that they just had that played to the like 10 different worlds that are in
Yep.
their universe,
Hmm.
and start trying to do like more experiences that way, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
can they start doing some of those like Bridgerton balls that are actually like
Yeah.
Netflix
Yeah.
sponsored events and not like, side events that
Yeah.
people are hosting by themselves? Some of these other like properties that they have, the
Yep.
Stranger Things worlds, um because experiences are what people want right now.
Yep.
Disney is kind of proving that out. This CEO choice is a brand strategy. It's showing they're
Yep.
going full in on the parks guy instead of the content.
Yep.
And so maybe some of these other like upstart companies need to start thinking about what sort of experiences they can provide for
Yeah.
consumers in order to compete more broadly with Disney. And then we'll see about the whole human creativity first, AI second. I really do hope that they go towards like the craft and storytelling, which is what they're known for. I
Yeah.
thought it was a huge miss when Bob Iger announced the OpenAI partnership and saying that
Yep.
like people will now be able to create content instead of like being like, we're going to use AI to help our creators facilitate what they're already creating, because the human ingenuity and creativity is what Disney is known for. That's what
It's
we
their
hire for, the
ethos.
Imagineers, Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think that companies need to be like, we're anti-AI. No, it's like, how are you going to use it to help support your
Yeah.
brand and your ethos, your mission and values? And
Yeah.
I think this is a better approach for me going forward.
I think with all the layoffs and just kind of the environment around the AI and like the job market, I think trying to be like supplement, not replace is a smart way to put
Hmm.
it, right? Because and I think like this statement was good because it's like we're always going to value human creativity. We're not going to make you watch like slop. We're not going to make you watch like AI generated content. Like we're still Disney, we're
Hmm.
still creative, we're still like, you know, bringing you the things that you love, just like enhanced because we have all this technology to do that now. So I agree with you on that one. And it's like a good step forward for like a legacy brand to like say that human creativity will always come first. And I think Apple has been doing that a lot too. So we're going to
Yes.
see it more and more, I
Hmm.
think.
Yes. Apple has definitely been killing it on that front.